tea or coffee. But this is one of the most important discussions we are having right now. We are discussing with some of the stalwarts in the industries, which are the highest emitter of carbon. So basically, this is what we are talking about, what initiatives each industry type is taking in. Specifically petroleum, we are talking about pipeline, we are talking about cement, we are talking about automotive transportation as well, including battery. So in each of these areas, by 2030, these industries, including steel, will emit around 1,100 million tons of CO2 per annum. So, which is around 27% of what the total emission at the time is believed to be. Right? So first, I will individually go into each panelist. First, I would like to discuss with Mr. Mishra. So generally, refinery is petroleum and natural gas are extremely wanted in this country. Right? So in this industry, and everyone is going, the consumption is going to increase. So what is your plan to reduce carbon emission in petroleum from the government perspective?
Thank you for the question. First of all, I would like to say that being from oil and gas sector, I'm aware that what kind of perception exists when discussion is about the emissions and refinery. So I would like to take a moment to declutter this common perception at the beginning. So when we look at the whole spectrum of the emission, right, then emission coming from the refinery sector is merely 2.55%, right? So this is the emission that we are talking about. And I say with pride that Indian refineries have shown a remarkable temperament over the years. They have evolved in capability of processing a variety of crudes, fuel quality, like we have come from the 10,000 ppm of sulfur content to below 10 ppm sulfur content. So that is a long journey that we have seen. So now talking about the net zero also, like when even developing countries are talking about the setting target deadline about 2050, and being for Indian country, we talk about 2070. For Indian oil and gas refinery, all refineries are being net zero by 2046, right? So coming to the numbers, I would say, talking about the Indian PSU refineries, as of now, the number is around 46 MMTPA of CO2 emission annually. And with the capacity at present around 258 MMTPA, that is projected to reaching around 310 by 2030. This number, taking business as usual, is going to around 67 MMTPA. But that is not the end of the story, because we have net zero plans, and because there is no silver bullet, there is a multi-pronged approach that has to be relied. So like refineries are doing a lot of things because we are relying on the energy efficiency. That is the first tool. Electrification, transition to gas as a fuel, and deployment of green hydrogen, CCUS. A lot of things are being playing the role together. Because see, what we are living in the transition era, and this time a variety of things are developing in tandem with each other, right? So things are taking a development, and hence they are being deployed at the stage, right? So refineries have very plan for their year-wise year reduction, and the number is like around 15 MMTP of CO2 emission reduction is projected by Indian PSU refineries by 2030. So I think things are quite in line, and I'm very hopeful to meet this target. Thank you.
Thank you for the insight. Before I ask the next question, can the people who are behind come in front so that the interaction can be with the audience in front, not in the back. That's a humble request. Then, continuing to that, Mr. Misra, see, there is one area where most of the sponge iron industry in steel are coal-based. Is there a aim where government is thinking about that to increase the spread of natural gas, which will reduce the CO2 emission at least by half in that industry?
Yeah, those things are always in the discussion because since, as we know, that is steel industry, because since I'm not the part of the steel sector, so I should not comment, but still I'm saying that because in the steel industry, because we can see there are a lot of DRI processes coming, right? So right now the focus is towards the green hydrogen, because in the steel sector, gas, because we are already in the shortage of gas, and the APM gas that we are having, that is a different priorities of allocation. The number one is going for the fertilizers as well, right? So that is the case, but things are under discussion. And we can see a lot of development. As of now, I think steel sector, because under National Green Hydrogen Mission also, there is a special discussion for steel sector as well. A lot of plants are coming also.
Continuing to that, Mr. Mohit, hi. Since this industry, petroleum industry is growing, and the pipeline infrastructure is growing for basic transportation of gas, specifically up to the household. How do you see this industry growing, and what is the part you are playing in reduction of carbon emission?
Thanks for that question, actually. Let me bring it to the forum that what is the problem statement here we are trying to address to, and why we have gathered here. I think the problem statement here is very clear, that we are looking to address the energy trilemma thing. When I say energy trilemma, it refers to having affordable energy, having secured energy sources, and that too in a sustainable manner. Now, putting another perspective to it, I mean, we are trying to solve a puzzle. We already have all the pieces of the puzzle with us. We just need to put all the pieces in the right place. What I meant by saying this, that going forward, we are looking at a multi-dimensional fuel mix. Not only India, but almost all the major developed and developing nations as well. Every fuel has a role to play as we are planning to transit ourselves into net zero. Net zero is not a sprint, it's a marathon, and we all are in this journey together. We need to balance these three pillars of energy trilemma perfectly. Unless we are able to do that, I think we will be losing out on renewables or natural gas or coal or oil for that matter. Every country is running their own race. Some have targets 2040, 2050. India has a target of 2070. So for me, I'm coming from a natural gas pipeline transportation company. So we are not purely green, but we are clean. And I think the juncture at which India stands today, we need to take right steps in a phased manner. We are doing every bit whatever we can to reduce emissions. Not only us, but the pipeline fraternity at whole, the oil and gas sector, as Mr. Mishra mentioned, in all perspectives. Right now, if you look at India's urban air quality, that's a immediate challenge that we need to address. And for that, I mean, we can bring transition, but not at the cost of something else. Everything has to thrive together. So natural gas remains a very clean fuel, though it's a fossil fuel, but I think it remains a clean fuel. We have invested a lot in developing natural gas infrastructure in India. If we talk about refineries for that matter, LNG terminals, pipelines, city gas distribution entities as well. I mean, in the entire geographical landscape of India has been authorized by the regulator, Petroleum and Natural Gas Regulatory Board, for development of city gas distribution infrastructure. A lot of financial commitments have been made. I think before we move on to the next journey, we need to optimize whatever we have already invested in fully, so that no stone is left unturned.
Correct. Yes, investment has to be fully utilized
Yes,
before
yes.
you
Yes.
jump onto the next.
Exactly.
process. Hi, Anupam. Cement consumption is growing, will grow maybe a few folds in India in the next 5-10 years with the infrastructure boom. Your company has done, put in effort to improve carbon emission and has spent money, of course. But can you elaborate on these journey, what you have taken, and what is your future thoughts in this area?
Sure. Thanks, Satyajit, and thanks, AT, for this wonderful discussion and having us here. Of course, cement is considered for a long time hard to beat sector, and this was the narrative for a very long time. But as globally as well as in India, cement sector has come forward, and you will probably see roadmaps which talk about net zero in the concrete value chain, net zero towards cement. So these actions are making the sector today now, making it possible to abate. So gradually the transition is happening, and then transition is also towards a possibility that cement and concrete sector would play an important role in that net zero transition. Now coming to the Dalmia's journey of transition that we have been in. So long back in 2018, we started with roadmap to become carbon negative by 2040. This has been our aspirational roadmap since then, and we have been following the interim targets. Every 5 years we have set up interim targets on that roadmap. And for example, one of the interim target was for 2025, by end of 2025. And there, by end of 2025, the target was 457 kg CO2 per ton of cement. And, in the year that has been completed, FY25 year itself, we have achieved that number. We are at 456 kg CO2 per ton of cement.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And this is like, since 2018, like continuously we have been building on those targets. So one of the important aspects that we did was we had a long-term view. We took a very long-term view, and at time when nobody was talking of targets like carbon negative in a heavy industry sector in 2018. And this we reiterated at Climate Action Summit on the invitation of then Governor of California, Mr. Jerry Brown. And then also in the UN General Assembly also, we reiterated this target. And we are continuing with this aspirational roadmap. And the next interim target is 373. You mentioned about futuristic path also. So we'll be reaching 373 by 2030. So this is another aspirational target. And the performance that we have achieved, 456. So you will see many international companies in the cement sector itself, probably they have this target for 2030, what we have achieved in 2025. Okay. That is, some may have this target for 2030, some may have this target for 2032. So now let me elaborate a bit how we achieved this, how we have been able to reach to this level. So one was that along with this aspirational roadmap that we developed for ourselves, we also created a business philosophy which is clean and green, is profitable and sustainable.
Correct.
So what it did was it helped us to basically break the mindset that when it is about sustainability, it actually costs more. So that mindset we have dealt with this business philosophy that clean and green is profitable and sustainable. And wherever we found those projects, those ideas, those concepts, those we accelerated. So for example, circular economy. In circular economy, resource efficiency aspects in the cement sector were very well accelerated in Dalmia Cement. And whether it is raw material, which is coming from various industrial waste origins, whether it is fuels, which is coming from industrial waste origin, helped us to replace the virgin raw materials, helped us to replace the fossil fuels, and at the same time, it helped us to decarbonize also.
Correct.
Similarly, renewable energy. So in renewable energy also, we have taken a lot of steps, whether it is about waste heat recovery power generation that we commissioned in each of the cement plant, or it is about putting up the renewable solar power plant in plants, and then also through group captive policies. So through this initiative also, we have been able to reach nearly 36%. This is the number of FY25, which I am saying.
Great.
And within a year time, we will be reaching nearly 60% in terms of renewable energy transition. And in some plants, we have already reached 60-70% of the transition in the renewable energy. In some plants, up to 80% also, depending upon the variability of the regulatory regime also. That is also quite helpful, the recent actions which have been taken up from the Government of India. And then the last thing is the nascent lever that we have been working on. And this is basically new technological adoption, because this is also important. In cement industry, almost 50 to 55% of the emissions come from the process side.
Correct.
So by dissociation of calcium carbonate, you have calcium oxide and calcium basically CO2. And this becomes the major chunk of the inventory of the GHG in the cement plant. So there the technologies which are suitable to decarbonize are basically carbon capture and utilization. And there we are taking our steps in those nascent levers also. For example, in Department Science and in a project of Department of Science and Technology, very recently there's one project which has been awarded to us, and we will be building a carbon capture and utilization facility in our eastern plant. And apart from that, long back with Asian Development Bank, we also carried out one feasibility study for a large-scale carbon capture project. So these are some actions we have been doing, and also we are taking actions towards the futuristic roadmaps in the cement.
A nice tagline: clean and green is sustainable and profitable. So this is, and it is interesting to see that the industry pioneers in this, each industries are taking steps to move ahead in this endeavor. Yeah. Mohit, before I come to you, Mr. Ferwani, I call you Thakur or Mr. Anything is fine. Okay, sorry. Your industry is one of the fastest growing industry in terms of acceptability of clean and clean energy resource like battery, or specifically battery, and some people are trying for solar also. But battery is one of the most important element for storage. How do you see this battery usage as a sustainable solution, and what you are doing in this area?
First of all, thank you, ET, for inviting me here for this specific panel discussion. And this question is very important for us to all of us to understand. Having an e-mobility, is this one of the source by which we will be reaching to net zero? One. Two, how sustainable is battery or battery operation over a period of time in terms of as one of the pillar to ensure that we talk about it is sustainable or not. So I will try to take 2 steps back and then come 2 steps forward in terms to give you an answer. First, we need to look at the demand side. Then we have to talk about supply angle.
Correct.
Because anything and everything in this world is the balance between demand and supply. When it comes to the demand side, because of the cost of operation and the cost of vehicle, any automobile giant is, producing and selling in the market. Not all the components we are producing in India.
Yes.
Many of these components, right from semiconductor to quite rare earth material and magnet, which is right now the conflict right now. Because of that, the entire industry is about to get at stall. is coming from outside. So which means when the dependency is there, the material which we are importing, the cost of production goes up. And that's how it is not that viable as compared to any ICE vehicle for anyone to opt for it. But of late, we have seen in last 3 to 4 years, because of various strategic lever which automobile industry is pulling around other material which is available domestically, we are able to bring down the cost of vehicle up at par plus minus 5 or 10% in various capacity, which is making this specific product viable for the masses. And that's how the demand side is now picking up slightly. If we are selling, let's say 100 vehicles, our penetration, I mean the volume at which we are selling in terms of percentage have now reached to 6% of the total pie which we are selling in the market. And this number will continue to grow as we will de-bottleneck those specific material where the dependency is high on the neighboring countries. And for that, schemes like PLI schemes, making make versus buy within India, the more it will go up. In next 5 years, we see that it will accelerate. And of course, this will be adding some value in terms of decarbonization, but not up to the greater extent, because still our grid is not green. Our grid will reach to a level of a green, we can say, only by 2040. Yes. Which means we still have 15 years where we can say that when the grid is green, then EV is also green. So it will add value in terms of decarbonization. Another challenge what for automobile industry is that mapping and measuring right now. Each vehicle which is plying on road, the moment it start, 97% of the carbon footprint for any automobile industry start the day when you buy a bike or a vehicle. And if any automobile industry is not able to measure that how many kilometers that vehicle is getting driven, nobody can claim that we will be reaching to the net zero at certain point in time, because there is no visibility on the odometer reading of a vehicle and we can't gauge it. So everything is happening in estimation, guesstimation in air.
Okay. That's
you pick up any industry worldwide, 90% of the vehicle you don't have a visibility how much kilometer is the odometer reading after 1 month, 2 months or 1 year. That's a reality. How many of you have a bike? Let's do the quick survey. How many of you have a bike? Great. And how many of you have a bike which is 10 years or more than old? Excellent. Now, those who are showing hand 10 years and more, all of your readings would be different, odometer readings. Someone is driving more, someone is driving less, and automobile industry is taking this as it's like a mass average. So when you don't have a visibility in terms of a right measurement, everything is estimation and guesstimation. So there is a lot of fluff and gas around net zero when it comes to automobile industry. And that the reality is 97% of the footprint is sitting when vehicles start to ply on ground. So there is a very less margin is left when it comes to control by which you can actually reduce that footprint. And that can only happen when at a massive scale policy deployment like Delhi government is looking for no more ICE vehicle, 100% electric, number one, first lever. Second lever, the grid which is there is absolute green. Look at UK, they have stopped their coal plant last year. So which means anything and everything should be green, whether it is coming from flex fuel or it is coming from nuclear or various other hydrogen, various levers, which we will take massive time in terms of reaching there. The final lever is that even solar, wind, hydrogen or any other fuel source you take, battery, it has some cascading impact over a period of time, which means it has its own life.
Correct. 5
to 7 years down the line, these batteries will go for a waste. So you need a sustainable solution to manage the battery. We need to create an ecosystem for recycling and upcycling. So many more challenges are there. So we are devising the solutions, but at the same time, we are part of the problem, which is going to impact us 5 years down the line. The moment we see the scenario by 2028, when vehicles will start scrapping those batteries, it can be a deterrent rather than an enabler if we don't find the solution around this with the right policy and the right enforcement. And that's how government scheme with respect to EPR, extended producer responsibility, is not only limited to now plastic. It has reached to a level of tire, rubber, metal, aluminium, every aspect. The responsibility is coming on the shoulder of OEM.
Correct.
And if OEM has to manage everything, the cost of vehicle is going to go up, and that can be another deterrent for anyone to buy the EV in the future. So there are multiple challenges. It's easy said than to say that EV is going to decarbonize the roadmap, I mean, for India, but it's a far-fetched goal. And that's how someone is smart in the government of India who has seen this thing happening, and that's how they set the vision of 2070, not any progressive country like 2050 or 2060. Because we know our challenges, and we know how much effort is required to, pull that lever here and there.
Yeah.
You can't overnight shut down coal plants.
No, you can also see that there are new coal thermal power plants which are coming up.
Because the demand is growing.
Yeah.
You are trying to make everything automated, which means there is something which is drawing that energy, and you continue to invest into something.
Correct. And the source problem here is if I don't stop making the thermal power plant, there will be shortage of power in India. So that's a catch-22 situation there.
Absolutely, that's right.
Yeah. Going back to Mr. Mishra, recently you have concluded a tender for GS2. Can you comment on the role, your role on green hydrogen production and usage?
First, talking about green hydrogen, let us understand the hydrogen consumption landscape in India, right? So in India, hydrogen consumption, around 98% of hydrogen is consumed from two sectors, refineries and fertilizers, right? Roughly around 6 MMTPA consumption is there, and refinery and fertilizer together consume around 5.5 MMTPA of hydrogen, right? So taking this, I think refineries hydrogen requirement is for the quality upgradation of fuel. And if I tell as a thumb rule, you can say that 1% of the capacity of refinery, you can say that is the requirement of hydrogen. And this hydrogen refinery derives around 30 to 35% is produced as a byproduct. And for the remaining, they require SMR process, steam methane reforming process. Unfortunately, for production of 1 unit of hydrogen generates 10 unit of CO2. Right? So that is the space where green hydrogen buzzword comes. And it's not only a buzzword, because I think this is going to be the pivotal solution for decarbonizing the refineries, because hydrogen generation alone contributes around 15 to 20% of refineries emission, right? So in line with this, under National Green Hydrogen Mission, there is a scheme under Site 2B that is focused for oil and gas sector. So under that, 200 KTA capacity has been assigned for refineries. So out of which initially some tenders from the refineries are underway, and recently this is very good to say that IOCL has concluded their first tender for 10 KTA. So very likely we are going to see a green hydrogen plant coming in the Panipat IOCL. But just talking about some challenges as well, because economics is always the biggest challenge for any sector. And in future, because green hydrogen cost is normally it is around 4 to 5 times of grey hydrogen cost. So that is the biggest challenge. But on the other side, we have some incentives also, because under Site 2B, some incentives are offered for first year 50 rupees per kg, 40 for second, and 30 for third, right? Right now, some states are also coming up with the green hydrogen policy or integrated renewable policies. So I think in future, with the combination of these two, we can bridge this gap of the price. And in future, a lot of things can happen. And refineries are like always, as I initiated this talk, the refineries are always the biggest off-taker of hydrogens.
Correct. Good thoughts, and good to know that the government is taking steps ahead in the future in the right direction. In similar lines, Anupam, you have talked about the CCUS technology, and things are like you have to use certain technologies to reduce decarb. How is it impacting your cost economics?
Yeah, so basically, as I was mentioning previously, for the cement sector and similarly other process industry also, it may also be probably steel sector or some other sectors where there are process emissions, basically dissociation of limestone or similar other dissociations. There can be dissociation of magnesium or some other similar carbonates. So in that energy, I mean, you can do the transition of energy, but process transition ultimately requires capture of that CO2, and then that captured CO2 can be utilized for multiple applications or can be stored underground. Now, considering circular economy perspectives, because if CO2 is being repurposed for certain utilization, then it makes better sense because it creates some value. So from that perspective, we have been looking and exploring the CCU aspects, basically carbon capture and utilization aspects of it. And there are various technological solutions which are emerging. So even when we did this feasibility study with ADB in 2020-21, there we did it for 0.5 million ton plant, CO2 plant, which is almost like industrial scale, large scale plant. And there it emerged that it is technically feasible to implement such plants. But at the same time, there would require a support of mechanism like IRA, Inflation Reduction Act, which is part of US, or Innovation Fund, which is applicable in EU. So unless such mechanisms are not available, it is very difficult to set up at this moment the CCUS projects in India, because the scenario is more like business long term, like it will payback will be very long. So from that perspective, it is important, and that is why DST has recognized it, Department of Science and Technology, and they came forward with a call for CCUS implementation in India in cement sector, earlier in power sector, then recently in cement sector, and now they have started in the steel sector. So this is how DST is taking it forward. And now Government of India has also started mission CCUS, probably very soon, probably it is going to be launched. And there also there will be some grant financing which may be possible for the industry. And once this is deployed, once this mechanism supply chain is built, then probably we'll have better understanding of what are the costs. Because right now we are saying it from the documentary, from feasibility analysis perspective, but once the large scale projects are implemented, then we will have more idea of the cost economics of those projects.
Correct. So this gives a thought that since every kg of cement you're selling, you're not getting the price, extra price like in Europe for green steel or whatever. For the amount you're spending on CCUS, you're not getting the price in the market.
Yeah, so basically on CCUS currently, if you see in the cement sector, there is no project implemented as of now. So as of now, the first thing, Dalmia only did the feasibility study long back in 2021. And there it appears that on CCUS, once carbon credit price of nearly $86 per ton is available, then it may be feasible to set up such projects. Currently it is not there, such international market access is not there. So in that article 6.2 and 6.4 would play a very important role. Government of India has already listed 14 technologies. There are 14 technologies which has been listed, and one of them is CCUS. So once 6.4 and 6.2 mechanism is well implemented, UN lists out the rule book and other market mechanism which has to be now unfolded. But once this unfolds, then probably there will be some fund flow which can work as viability gap funding towards this. But in majority, considering the experience internationally, whether it is from Europe or whether it is from US, primarily in Europe, 42 projects which have been implemented, mostly they have happened through grant financing in the Europe and US.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thakur, TVS is a pioneer in automotive industry, two-wheelers specifically, and you have done lots work in the area of sustainability and decarb. Can you throw some light in that area?
Yeah, so it's very important for us to first identify the key levers when we have to talk about decarbonization and net zero. And we have identified such 17 to 18 different levers. Few of them are within the fence levers and few of them are beyond the fence levers. The within the fence lever again is cascaded into 3 different dimensions: people, process and technology, which we would like to harness at a time without wasting any time. Keeping that in mind, efforts with respect to energy conservation, sourcing of the green energy, working towards sustainability ambassador program, using industry 4.0 measures to automate the system to save energy and also identify and measure, monitor and everything. This has actually resulted into reduction of our scope 1 and 2 almost 97%. Correct. And we do have a carbon stock in-house. This is the man-made forest across all the sites which we have. We will be declaring net zero operation very soon for all our operations in India.
Very nice.
So these are like internal levers. Now, to ensure that as and when changes are happening, brownfield projects are coming in, more and more shifting will happen towards flex fuel vehicles, futuristic vehicles, and also vehicles which will have the best-in-class technology into it. We have to sustain what we have built, and that's where the unique program, which is Sustainability Ambassador Program around energy, is right now going on, where we are ensuring that every single employee take the charge of reducing the resources that is in-house.
Yeah.
Beyond the fence, levers are extremely, extremely important because, as I said, 97% of the total carbon is sitting beyond the fence. And that's where working with suppliers, upstream, dealers, downstream, and also mapping the adequate or appropriate number of kilometers which is getting driven, that's where our work is. And we are working around product stewardship by building a product stewardship index around the product. Very soon you will see any products which is getting launched in the market will have a barcode where you can scan and see how much is the intrinsic carbon while we have produced this entire vehicle, which is like well to wheel. Every customer can see transparently. And our objective is to reduce as much as possible and bring it to lesser than best of the automobile companies in Europe, to also beat that CBAM, downstream CBAM requirement which will come on our shoulder.
Correct.
So these are various levers which we are using, making sure that we are driving it appropriately. And this ambassador program, what we have in-house, we are extending it to our suppliers, dealers, and suppliers up to tier 3 supplier, not up to the tier 1 and tier 2. Then only we will be able to create a sync, because in automobile, if you see, it's all about make versus buy. Everything is getting manufactured upstream. We are just assembling and sending it to the market. So it's very important that every element of supply chain is stitching that together and they are synced together. Otherwise, there will be a lot of disparity. Correct. And we will never be able to achieve net zero what we have an aspiration to achieve.
Thank you. Before we end, one last question to Mohit. See, generally, how pipeline industry can put their effort in decarbonization, and your thoughts on hydrogen blending in natural gas?
Yeah, so see, natural gas pipeline is nothing but methane, right? So we are transporting methane. So we do not have much scope to, stop business and, transport something else. But there are smarter ways to do things to handle sustainability. Globally, hydrogen blending is very well talked about. I think in UK, the government has set a target to blend about 20% in their network. There is a European hydrogen backbone also, which consists of 33 pipeline operators. They have set a target of, setting up some 58,000 kilometers of hydrogen, blended networks by 2040. But the interesting fact there is that globally, hydrogen is the new thing that we are talking about. Globally, natural gas has been there. A lot of investments have already been made, and natural gas is a strategic partner when it comes to transporting hydrogen through blending. Though we need to look at the technical aspects of it, in that regard, in India, PIL was one of the pioneers. We conducted a study outsourced by a global consultant that at different blending levels of hydrogen, by repurposing natural gas pipeline networks, how far we can go. So we started from bare minimum of 5%, we went up to 100%. The study showed us that up to 20% of blending we can do very easily without any major modification, without any major capex investments. When I say 20%, let's translate it in terms of emissions reduction. So hydrogen to natural gas is in the ratio of 1:3 by volume. So if I'm talking about 20%, that roughly translates up to 7% reduction in emissions.
Correct.
But that too at a country level is a huge chunk that I'm talking about, right? So my limited point here would be that we are moving in the right direction. Globally, a lot of traction is happening on blending, but then the ecosystem has to be there. We are looking at the value chain. We are not looking at production of hydrogen in isolation and then consumption of hydrogen in isolation. We also need to develop the link in between. It is an interesting fact to note that if we are building new hydrogen pipelines, and if instead of doing that, if we are just repurposing the existing natural gas pipeline, we are going to save around 70 to 80% of capex. And that's a huge chunk for a country like India. Yeah. And we can surely look to optimize our investments and put it to better use. So that's my take on that.
With that note and this enlightening discussion, I come to an end for this forum. Thank you very much.